Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I watched the new horror film The Nun 2 and now I want to tell you about it. To start off, this film is a sequel to The Nun and sees the return of Sister Irene and the demon Volok. If you haven't seen the first film, some parts of this one won't make a lot of sense, and you will struggle to understand the connection between Irene, Maurice, and Volok. That said, they do attempt to explain these things, they just don't do a good job of it. The story was written by Akela Cooper and adapted into a screenplay by her, Richard Nang, and Ian Goldberg, and the film was directed by Michael Chaves. It follows Sister Irene as she investigates a brewing evil in Paris, France. A spate of murders causes rumors to circulate that Volok, the demon nun, has returned, and Sister Irene sets out to stop her. The plot is split into two different storylines. One storyline follows the demon nun and the person it's currently possessing, and the other follows Sister Irene on her investigation. The nun's storyline introduces us to three characters: Maurice, Sophie, and Kate. We follow them as they go about their day at the boarding school and watch as Maurice bonds with Kate and her daughter. In the background of their storyline, the nun attacks and murders people around them. This storyline builds up the emotional stakes of the film by giving us three characters to care about and showing off the demon and its abilities before its confrontation with Irene. The murders involve tense, eerie scenes of characters creeping around in dark spaces, reacting to every little noise they hear. The demon nun appears in the shadows behind them, sometimes as a person they know and sometimes as a monster. We then get a short sequence of them being murdered before moving on. Meanwhile, Sister Irene's storyline introduces us to all of the backstory and exposition we need in order to understand who the demon is and what it's after. We also see Irene bond with her sidekick Deborah a little bit while investigating. In the finale, the two stories converge and Irene takes on the demon nun once more. In general, the story is overly convoluted and poorly presented. Most of the story beats are told through long and boring exposition scenes that make you want to fall asleep, and there is a lot of unnecessary lore involved that doesn't seem to actually matter to the plot, like Deborah's past and everything to do with St. Lucy. There are large glaring plot holes in the story that can't be reconciled. For example, the nun has the chance to kill Irene several times in the story through sheer physical force and simply chooses not to finish her off. We're never given a reason why, and it just looks ridiculous after the second or third time it happens. The story also isn't that exciting. The nun only kills 3 people in the film, and all 3 are randoms that you don't have any attachment to. About halfway into the film, the nun stops killing people altogether and instead decides to just chase them around and hurt them a little while scaring them. You never feel like Irene is in any danger or that she will ever fail in her mission. Cast-wise, we see a lot of great fear and pain reactions from the general cast and a lot of solid line delivery. Most of the screen time goes to the nun storyline with Anna Popplewell, Jonas Bloquet, and Caitlin Rose Downey carrying the emotional stakes of the film. The 3 of them do a solid job of playing their roles and dealing with the emotions of their characters. All 3 of them get to do some great fear reactions, and Jonas Bloquet gets to do some wonderful work later on in the film as a possessed man. He puts on a demonic-looking smile and gives an intense stare while under the control of the nun. After the 3 of them, Thaisa Farmiga gets the next largest share of the screen time. Farmiga as Sister Irene plays a reluctant hero putting on a brave face. She plays her character's emotions well, and her reactions to the nun are great. Visually, the film is quite dark and simple to look at. Most of the sets and costumes are old-fashioned, and the demon that appears in the film is mostly hidden in the shadows. When it does appear, it's in the form of a ghost nun, a ghost child, or a demonic goat man. We only ever see it for a split second, and then it's gone. The journey is easy to understand, but it also telegraphs all of its jump scares in a super obvious way that ruins them. Whenever the demon nun is around, the scenery always gets dark and the characters start getting lit from the front. The nun will appear in the shadows behind them and then they'll see it right before it attacks. It happens that way every single time and it takes a lot of the fun out of the film. The kills aren't especially gory or gruesome. They tend to happen within 5 seconds or less, and each time they have several minutes of build-up before them. Despite all that, there was one scene I did really like. Irene is chasing a kid through some alleys and ends up in front of a wall of newspapers. As she stares at the wall, the wind picks up and we see the nun appear on the wall, created out of the images from the pages. It's a cool moment, and the jump scare that happened there actually got me. Sound-wise, the film uses a mixture of ambiance and scored instrumentals to fill out the film's atmosphere. The scored instrumentals come in during big story moments and when the nun is chasing someone. During emotional moments, we get light mood-setting tracks, and during chase scenes, we get tense adventure music that follows the scene beat for beat. Whenever they're going for a jump scare, they let the music fade away and we watch the characters rummage through dark areas in near silence. The only sounds we tend to hear are creepy noises and sound effects that are meant to unnerve us. This silence preps you for the next jump scare, each of which is accompanied by a loud noise. Overall, The Nun 2 feels like a cheap attempt to capitalize on the original film's success. The cast does a decent job, the visual journey makes sense, and there's even a decent soundtrack, but the film fails to present the story in an interesting way, and it ruins all of its own jump scares by telegraphing each and every single one of them. If you really like jump scares no matter the quality, and you don't mind a ridiculous story, this movie is alright for a single watch. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 5 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Bye-bye.